I was a broke college student. I was doing my master's degree. I was hanging out with different friends who were stockbrokers and who worked on Wall Street. And one of the things that they told me is, Vivian, you gotta get active in the markets. You gotta do something. I was so broke at that time. And I said, how am I gonna get involved? You guys have all this money. One of them worked for Facebook and the other one worked for somewhere. I was like, come on. And they told me, no, $50. Put $50 away every single month. And then eventually you'll get to $1,500. And when you get to $1,500, you can start buying stock. So anytime you want to buy something and you can't afford it, buy stock in that company.
Welcome to Musings of a Geriatric Mama, where we discuss all things millennial and motherhood. This is not your average show where we romanticize being a mom, but rather a place where we keep it real while guiding you through restorative living and wellness, mind, body, and soul. Here you'll find impactful insights from high-achieving moms and mother figures navigating life through this exhausting yet simultaneously rewarding journey. You may laugh or cry and even possibly pee yourself. So do a Kegel or two and hold on to your seat. It's going to be a bumpy ride, but it doesn't have to be a lonely one. I'm your host, Naame, and thank you for meeting me here. Welcome back to Musings of a Geriatric Mama. I'm your host, Kenna Ame, and I'm so glad you're here. We're going to be talking about how to be a mogul while balancing motherhood. And I have a special guest, Vivian Olodun, that is going to impart some amazing wisdom on how she's building legacy while being there for her family and community. My guest, Vivian, is a serial entrepreneur, author, and angel investor, known widely as the CEO of Flourish Media, a 360 marketing firm, and the managing director of Behind the Leaf, a 50c3 non-for-profit. She has a passion for helping women get to the money faster and has co-raised $15 million to support women-owned businesses through the Flourish Media Conference, a 2-day matchmaking event that connects minority women entrepreneurs with angel investors, banks, and other funding solutions. Her work and insights have been featured in USA Today, Forbes magazine, the Miami Herald, and more. With more than 18 years of marketing experience, Vivian specializes in creating the celebrity factor for her clients, positioning them to demand top dollar and gain greater leverage in their industries. She has built partnerships with Capital One Bank, Samsung, FedEx, TradeStation, the Alacran Foundation, the Bit Group, and a thriving network of small businesses that she calls the Tribe. Vivian's leadership extends to innovation and impact. She's an angel investor in Pink Luminous Breast, a breast cancer prevention and screening device. She is also an AI trainer at the Miami AI Hub, powered by Emerge Americas. She is also a proud member of the Links Incorporated, BNI, Flourish Media, and the Made for Millions Mastermind. She is deeply rooted in family as a proud wife, mom, sister, and daughter, balancing her personal life with her calling to serve women entrepreneurs and creating impact worldwide. This conversation is going to inspire women who have ever wondered if she could truly have it all. Welcome, Vivian.
Wow, that is some introduction.
I mean, it's well deserved. I mean, I've had the opportunity to witness you in action, and that is just scratching the surface of the impact that you truly create. But I'm happy that we can give you your flowers in the beginning because you are doing amazing, amazing things. So, welcome, Vivian. How are you?
I'm doing well, like most mamas. I'm a little tired all the time, but that's okay. And
That
so,
part.
what I'm excited about is being able to have, this conversation with you because you're such a delight and so wonderful and such an inspiration in and of yourself of how you're building your business and using your creativity to make an impact for others. I think it's really beautiful.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I think that being around like-minded individuals and women like you keep the train moving because as mamas, we are tired and sometimes we run out of inspiration to keep moving, keep pressing, and keep building. So I can't wait until we can talk about what you're doing to build your empire. But before we get there, let's talk about who Vivian was before motherhood and where you are now.
Oh, so I mean, I was definitely connected to my identity of being an entrepreneur. I really embraced that feeling of taking risk and being able to make money anywhere. I used to say, and I still say that, like, money loves me. It goes out of its way to come find me. If I go into a room, the richest person in that room will make sure that they come and say hi to me. And I don't
Ooh,
know what that's about, but it's just a fact of the matter.
love that.
I would definitely say that I was a very happy wife and a daughter. It's a fun fact that I have 42 male cousins. So I'm around
That's
men,
amazing.
grew up around a lot of guys. I have a
Okay.
good level of masculine energy, but I spend my day to day with women all the time just because that experience showed me that men walk through the world differently. They really do. They have
Mm,
a little bit more audacity. They speak differently. Even to the point of my own father and uncle and cousins I can answer a question, they'll say, nope, don't say it like that. That's a passive tone. You need to adjust the way that you
oh,
respond. And so because of that, and God bless them for doing that, I am able to hold my own with anybody in any conversation because of that critique over the years.
I've had the chance to witness this. And you said the word audacity. And I think that as women, we should be more audacious. Kind of growing up, we hear it's a man's world. And how does a woman navigate a man's world, especially in entrepreneurship, and especially being a serial entrepreneur, where the playing field is not fully in our favor? So having that audaciousness, having the boldness to take up space in rooms that are male dominated, like, I just love that you can do that. And what I also love is how you are equipping and empowering women to do the same.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think is really important is that there's such thing as feminine strength.
Mm,
When you're in a space where you're the only woman, you don't need to try and be like a man. You need to be even more like a woman. That's where you find your
mm,
strength in those environments and being able to own what you're good at. The thing about entrepreneurship that I really enjoy, and I know that this might sound counterintuitive, but I think entrepreneurship is more of an even playing field than any other corporate or work environment
mm,
because entrepreneurship is about being able to serve your clients and your customers. And if
mm,
you can serve your clients and customers in a way that satisfies the gap that they have, that
mm,
solves a problem, they don't care. If you're a woman, a man, anything in between, they're going to buy from you. And I think that what matters is overcoming the mindset of telling yourself that
mm,
you're not going to get an advantage because you are a woman, because it's just not true. When it
mm.
comes to entrepreneurship and business, the solution that is the best will always prevail. Period. That's what people are going to pay for.
I love that. So mindset. Mindset is the first shift. Believing internally that the obstacles that historically may have made people feel marginalized are no longer the barriers. As long as here you're ready and you believe that you can do the impossible. That's what I got from that. And I love that. I love that so much. Tell me a little bit more about the mindset shift that it took from being someone that was business oriented, found love, got married, and now decided, hey, it's time to expand the legacy. And tell me a little bit more about when you decided to embark on your motherhood journey, and how old were you when you became a mom?
So I am a geriatric mom.
Proudly so, okay.
Yes, and I know that because every single appointment, my doctors reminded me that I was having a geriatric pregnancy
Oh my
and I needed to
goodness.
be careful because I had a geriatric
Uh,
pregnancy. And so my journey started with a fibroid. I have a fibroid
mm,
that was growing in my uterus. It grew to as the size of a grapefruit, actually.
wow.
And I let it keep growing because I knew that if I did want to have kids, I needed to remove it. But I didn't plan on having children. I was a workaholic and
Mm,
had gotten well into my 30s and I didn't have any kids. And so I was having the conversation with my husband around, do you want to have children? Is that a thing that you want to do in the future? And I needed to be very clear and poignant about that question, because my husband is wonderful and he's just like such a peaceful, go with the flow kind of person. And I knew that I needed to press the conversation, because if I didn't, the time would just kind of continue and we just stay as is. And so I asked him, and he finally let me know that, yeah, I do want to have kids. And so after our wedding, I said, okay, well, the best time to do this is kind of like right now. I'm one of those people that's like, okay, if we're doing this, let's do it right now.
Do it now.
So I knew that I was getting married in March, and so I set the appointment, I think it was 90 days out, to get the myomectomy, to have the fibroid removed. And so I did. Months after my wedding, I had the myomectomy, I had the fibroid removed. Turned out I had the grapefruit sized fibroid, but I also had 3 additional like smaller ones that were there. And we waited, there was 6 months there, and said, okay, you need to now see if you can get pregnant, because we don't even really know if everything kind of works between he and I. We have no idea.
Right.
And so we went to work it, and I was pregnant. And so there you go. So, I think I was married in March. I must have gotten pregnant around November. I found out I was pregnant on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, which is so unfortunate, because I was on my way to a New Year's Eve party.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I was like, you know what? Let me take this pregnancy test. And so I found out I was pregnant. And so I went to the party and I couldn't drink. And
Happy New Year.
truly. And so that's how the journey began. And it was such a blessing, because I'm very much an extrovert, and I'm a out in these streets kind of person, and the pandemic hit. And so I say, God knows what he's doing, because I didn't miss out on anything. I was taking really good care of myself. I was resting at a level that I probably haven't rested in well over a decade. And so I had a very peaceful first pregnancy, and it went just as easy as can be. And so after I had my baby, and I had a C-section, because when I had the myomectomy, a piece of my uterus was removed. And so because of that, I can't go into labor. My uterus doesn't have the mechanics necessary because it's a timer. It is our timer.
Yep.
And so my timer doesn't work. Needed to have a C-section, and we did, and my baby came out very healthy. And so it was a great experience.
Amazing. There's so many things to unpack there. One, timing.
Yeah.
For a lot of ambitious women, we're more, I guess, task oriented. We've always been task oriented. Everything was a checklist. Everything was, at this age I'll do this, and at this age I'll do that, or maybe I won't. So there's a lot of waiting that happens for ambitious women, because we're so used to being so detail oriented about every aspect of our lives. And then we get to motherhood, and it's something like you said, can I even have children? What does this mean for me? And getting on the same wavelength as your spouse or your partner. 2, the pandemic. And you said something so imperative, because a lot of amazing babies were born during the pandemic. And what you said struck a chord with me was you slowed down. You had the time to slow down. And we know how devastating and impactful the pandemic was. But for a lot of us, we had our children then, our first child then. We were able to slow down and be more intentional. And by God's grace, here we are with our children. And timing for the geriatric mother, that's the other thing I wanted to talk about, seems to be everything, because society has this clock tick, 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 ticking. But the truth is, biologically, there are a lot of things internally that we as women have to deal with, especially women of color, such as fibroids. And the importance of having the myomectomy or the fibroid removal, how that affects fertility, how that increases your chances or decreases your chances, is a conversation that we still need to have. So you touched on so many things that are important. And the reason why I called this Musings of a Geriatric Mama is because of the fact that society has labeled us and almost created this sense of panic about motherhood later on in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. And medically, the term that they're using now, because they realize that was just stigmatizing women and just putting us in a bad place. So now it's advanced maternal age for the listeners out there. Um, but I wanted to poke fun at and debunk some myths when it comes to having children later in life. But we're gonna go deep dive into ambition, building community, because those are the things that impact ambitious women daily and how to navigate that. So I can't wait to get your wisdom and insight on that. And specifically, what being a mogul means while navigating motherhood and being a partner that is present. So can you talk a little bit about what that means to you personally?
Well, you shared a lot in that debrief, because timing does mean quite a lot, and timing and taking action appropriately matters too. Because I am one of these high performing people, and so during the pandemic, I didn't have one baby, I had two.
Yes.
And so and no, they were not twins for our listeners. I had a full baby, went through the full cycle. I breastfed for an entire year and then had another baby immediately after that and breastfed for an entire year. So the
Wow.
pandemic
Go
went
mama.
on way longer. Thank you. The pandemic went on way longer than we wanted, but for me,
Yeah.
I saw the opportunity in that because I knew what my life looked like before the pandemic and how busy I was. And I said, you know what? If this thing keeps going, let me go ahead and have my kids now, because this is when I have the time to do it. And so when it comes to being a mogul, a big part of that is understanding that you can do multiple things, but being realistic about the fact that you can't do all the things at the same time. So I do want to give everybody grace, anybody who's going to listen to what I'm about to share and think, oh my goodness, she's doing all that at once. I'm doing that all at once, but it's because things were built in such a way that I could walk away from them and move on to the next thing. That's very
Yes.
important. Even within the Flourish membership, which is a pivot that we've made as a company, a big part of it is taking the seasons quiz so that you can see where you are in your entrepreneurial journey and to identify what myself and my business partner, Dr. Tracy Timberlake, believe are the things that you should be focusing on at that time. And so if
Absolutely.
you decide to take the seasons quiz or you're become a part of our network, please know that what I'm about to share of all the things that I do, I did them within the appropriate season for that thing, including being a mom. Because I believe if I had waited longer and not had my kids, I don't know what that would look like in the future. But it was the right time then. So that's when I doubled down and said, I'm going to have both of my kids right now. So
Yeah.
I am the CEO of Flourish Media, which is a marketing agency. It's a marketing training and development agency where we really at our core focus on training founders and CEOs on marketing strategies and what they can do so that they can build out their business. And so when we started out, we talked a lot about digital marketing, influencer marketing, being on Facebook, buying ads, all these things. But now, where we are in the age of AI, we focus a lot on AI training, because as a company, we've always used AI, but as a community, we recognize that a lot of small business owners don't know how to use AI in the same way that we use it on a very regular basis. And so
Right.
within our Flourish membership, we focus on making sure that our members are trained on AI and then they can take it to the next level however they see fit. So I'm the managing director for Behind the Leaf. Behind the Leaf is our 501c3. We are super active as a nonprofit. And so as a nonprofit, we grant 4 grants over the course of the year to women small business owners, to our members. We have a partnership with Capital One Bank. And the thing that we're known for is we have a matchmaking weekend with angel investors and women business owners in Miami, Florida. So those are the 2 things people know me for.
Yes.
Then I am a consultant. So I have a consulting business where I work with high-end clients. I worked with the heiress of Ferrero Rocher chocolates, Alessandra Lasavio. I've worked with multiple like royals and all different types of people who have done very well financially. And so a lot of the foundation of the things that we train our members on is based on watching a billionaire. I'm not telling you what I think. I've watched I know what a billionaire does every single day because I've watched this person, and I'm telling you this is what works. The other piece of that is I wrote a book, Stumbling Through Adulthood, so I'm an author. So I have my author work. I was self-published, so I know exactly what that looks like to be on Amazon, to make book tours, to do that whole thing. My husband and I own a company called Rich AF Holdings, and You can pick any name you want, you guys. And
I know.
so we manifest that name. And so we own income properties. So I own a luxury
Love that.
townhouse in Miami, and then I own a multifamily unit in Little Havana. And so I think that I also dabble in stocks and things. And so years ago, when I was a broke college student, I was doing my master's degree. I was hanging out with different friends who were stockbrokers and who worked on Wall Street. And one of the things that they told me is, Vivian, you gotta get active in the markets. You gotta do something. I was so broke at that time. And I said, how am I gonna get involved? You guys have all this money. One of them worked for Facebook and the other one worked for somewhere. I was like, come on. And they told me, no, $50. Put $50 away every single month. And then eventually you'll get to $1,500. And when you get to $1,500, you can start buying stock. So anytime you want to buy something and you can't afford it, buy stock in that company. So I started out buying stock in LVMH because I wanted a nice bag, but I couldn't afford the bag, but I could afford a piece of stock. So I would buy it. I bought stock in Buffalo Wild Wings. I have stock in Disney. I have stock in NVIDIA. I have stock in a lot of different companies that you know and love, including Netflix.
Yep.
And so all those, and so all the things I like, and that's the advice that they gave me many years ago. And so I still stay to that, and I still put $50 every month in that same account just because I want to know what that would look like over the course of my life. But I also have been very, very active with my money. So I believe that money is a tool that you're supposed to use in order to make an impact or to live the lifestyle that you want. So I have cryptocurrency, and I also obviously invested in Pink Luminous Breast, which is a pre-screening breast cancer product. And so they are FDA approved, and they've been used in the market in Europe and all these different places. So I told you, if you're listening, I said, don't listen to everything I got going on and think I do it all at once. Because I did not. I did all of these things over the course of my adulthood and took action when appropriate. And so, and then it was about maintaining those things. So the same way I maintained my toddlers, they were my pandemic investment of time. And so and I maintained them. And so when I was a broke college student, I invested in the stock market and I maintained it. And when I wanted to leave corporate America, I created my consulting company. Then I met my business bestie, Dr. Tracy. We set a solid foundation, and then I maintain it. And so it's really about not being afraid to start something, because you need to know if it's going to work. So you want to fail fast. So start something, see if it works, and then maintain it.
I love that. There's so much. Listen, for anyone listening here, this is a mini TED Talk for entrepreneurship, for what we call diversifying your portfolio, because that's what it was. That's what it is. And creating wealth and legacy in different ways, and being creative and using your creativity to generate income, to generate the things that can feed into the other businesses. Wow. I'm like taken aback because to hear you lay out the blueprint. Okay. So for those that are listening, be encouraged that being in community is important. Being around the billionaires, being around the moguls, being around the mamas that are actually creating the blueprint for something that seemed impossible for women. It is possible. You just have to do it, fail fast, believe in yourself, and have the right mindset, and realize that things are done in due season. Because I think as ambitious women, we kind of want to do it all. And what I'm getting from you is that it can be done, but it just has to be done appropriately. Set the right foundation so that it's sustainable.
Right.
So that it's sustainable. And I just love that. And what I think more listeners that are mamas want to know is, how are you able to juggle this while raising two beautiful baby girls? That's what we want. What's the tea on that? What's the tea on that?
First and foremost, I have a great partner. So their father is very, very present with them. He spends just as much, if not more, time with them than I do.
That's important.
And so that's the first thing. Then, two, to have an environment where everybody understands that Vivian is an entrepreneur. Like, if I try not to be an entrepreneur, I can't do that. That it's like inherent to me.
Yes.
And so that means when I had my babies, my mother-in-law was here in the house with me for the first month of both of my kids. And so that was very beautiful to have that kind of support, because I say all the time that growth happens in collaboration, and I'm telling you, it really does. I have a very close friend of mine, Ann Liv, shout out to her, who volunteered to basically be my babysitter
Love that.
through postpartum. So she would come to my house and help me to get organized, because her son is a little older than my kids.
Okay.
And so she helped me to set up like systems to get
Systems.
things done. And she like physically came to my house, would physically help me clean things, move things around, and just was an incredible support to me in that way. Then I make a lot of money, so I pay people.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
And so
our
I do have a,
outsourcing.
yeah, I'm outsourcing. So I have a cleaning company that comes in and clean my house. I have a nanny who's been with my girls since my first child was about 9 or 10 months old. So she's been with us for almost 5 years now.
Amazing.
And so it's very incredible. She not only takes care of my girls, but also is able to give insight, because she's taking care of other children to help them to be self-sufficient and things. She does my hair. She literally braided my hair that you see right now. So it's like all those kind of things. Somebody has to help me with all that stuff. And
Yeah.
my kids go to daycare. So I do send my kids. So not only do I have a nanny, they also they went to daycare, now they go to school.
Yeah.
So I'm all about that outsourcing. I have invested quite a bit into my kids having their own life, so that they feel fulfilled and they have things to do, they have their own schedule. And when I am with them, I try my very best to be fully with them. So
Yes.
I'm the one who's with them in the morning. I cook their breakfast for them. We talk about what their day is going to look like. When they get out of school, then I make time to just be with them. I'm not
Yeah.
perfect. Sometimes I'm on
Yeah.
my phone. You know, people call me, things are going on.
Yeah.
But try to be as fully present as I can when I'm with them.
I love that. And that's the thing. That's the thing about the beauty of motherhood, and I guess kind of just traversing life as an entrepreneur, is that we understand that balance may not always look perfect from day to day, but having intentional time set out for the different things. Like, I know in business we can time block, you know?
Yeah.
So in our personal life, I think time blocking makes sense as well. I even have it on my phone, and my son will read it when it comes up. It says family time, and it may seem crazy to other people, but that is also a reminder for me to just be like, this is the time that is set aside to be present. Another thing that I wanted to reiterate is, one, having a team, okay?
Yeah.
And what I'm realizing as I journey through entrepreneurship and as I'm thinking about scaling and growth is the fact that a lot, if not most, successful women that are mothers that I've witnessed throughout this time have a team. I feel like as moms, and then especially if we have Caribbean or Afro-Caribbean descent, we were raised to do it all.
Right.
We were raised to do it all, and we feel guilty if we don't do it all, you know? And what I'm realizing as you elevate, scale, and grow in your journey as an entrepreneur, are actually getting to the level of mogul. You have to be able to build a community and a team that can help your lifestyle be sustainable. And understanding that you've carved out intentional time for your family, the guilt can fall at the wayside. Because
Yeah.
what you're building is a legacy that is sustainable for you to be a present mother and to reduce your chances of overwhelm, burnout, and anxiety. That's what I'm hearing. And I applaud you for that. And I think more of us need to let go of some of that mom guilt and have and outsource whatever we need to, because our mental health takes precedence. That's what I'm
Yeah.
hearing. That's what I'm taking from it. And what do you think?
I mean, one of the things you asked me a question, who was I before I had children? And I have to say that the hardest piece when you talk about cultural background, my mother's from Panama, my father's from Nigeria, and you know, there's a lot of pressure to do it all, to be very present, and to kind of put family first above every other thing, which
Right.
I don't necessarily find anything wrong with.
Right.
But the lesson, the mindset shift that I had to go through was accepting. I had to go through that
Yes.
process of learning how to ask for help, because I severely conditioned to do things myself.
Same.
Very much dealt with lone wolf syndrome.
Same.
And even though I could do it in my business, where I practiced the muscle of telling other people what needs to get done and having systems, I didn't do that at all in my personal life. And it
Mm,
really overwhelmed me, the amount of help that I needed in my personal life just to
mm.
kind of make it through one day. And I was just like, oh my goodness, you mean just for me to be able to get from one day to the next, I need somebody to make my breakfast? And this is like immediately after giving birth. I need somebody to
Mm.
make my breakfast. Somebody has to help me to the bathroom. You mean
Oh
somebody
yes,
has to hold the
post-op. You
baby?
had a C-section.
I had a very serious surgery. And so
Yeah.
one of the things that was very different is because since I had a myomectomy, it's very similar to
Hmm.
having a C-section. But the big difference is that there is no baby. So you're not breastfeeding, you're not taking care of another person. And so being able
Mm.
to come to terms with needing help, one, asking for help, because that was a whole journey where I would ask for help and then not let people help me.
Same. Guilty.
Like, I'm
Guilty.
sure the listeners can, some of you don't know where we're coming from. And so then it gets to a point where you say, you know what? Yeah, I need the help. I asked for the help, and I'm going to let somebody help me. And then
Oh.
it's something about being able to do that catapults your ability to get more done because you can't get
Mm.
everything done yourself. The moment that it really changed for me is my husband was looking at me. I was like had an ear pod in. I'm holding a baby. I'm doing everything, and I was trying to make the bed or something, and he just was like, Vivian, do you think that Oprah's uncomfortable when people are doing things for her?
Mm.
And
Come
something
on.
about that statement, I said, you know what? No, she's not. She's not.
She's not.
You're a job creator. You're creating a job for somebody
Mm.
and let them do their job.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, okay. Still a journey, but in a much better headspace about it than I was before.
Still a journey. Listeners, ask for help. There's nothing wrong with it. It opens your capacity. And I think as mothers, especially busy, high achieving, trying to scale the corporate ladder, building a business, navigating it all, even maybe being a single mom, like capacity is important. And for the most part, we feel like we have no time, no capacity. But if we were just to ask for help and really lean into community, I think that we can do so much more. And as we're talking about community, Vivian, you are a community builder. So I want to go in a little bit deeper about Flourish Media and Behind the Leaf. What inspired you to create it, and how has community shaped your journey as a mogul?
Well, thank you. With Flourish Media, the marketing agency, it really grew organically because we held the first Flourish Media Conference in Miami, Florida in 2016. So
Wow.
when we
Yeah.
held that event, there were 78 women who came to that first conference, and when we were done, they started to ask, "How were you able to get us here?" Because I'm not a big time influencer or anything. And my business partner, while she has like blown up over the 10 years, at the time, was just your average beauty influencer. And so we both took what she knew about being an influencer and what I knew about working in corporate marketing, and we created ads. We did all the campaigns online, and that's how we got those 78 people to show up without
Amazing.
having any audience or anything. And so
Amazing.
what we started with was replicating that for other people. So they said, "Oh, well, I want to have a conference. I want to have a meeting. I want to have a thing. Can you help me to get people to show up?" Then it became, "I need a logo for this. I need a website for that. I want to be on TV. Can you help me do that?" And I said, "Yeah, I used to do that in my corporate office all the time. No problem. I
Yeah.
can call the news station, nothing to it." And so, truly organically, that's how the business grew. And now here we are 10 years later, which is a trip.
Wow.
And we grew 10 years in 10 years, and we're just paying attention to our target market, which are women entrepreneurs. And coming through the pandemic, now looking back as a mother, understanding that it's hard to make friends as an adult, even harder when you're an entrepreneur and the only thing you think about is your business from the minute you open your eyes till you go to sleep at night. Your good friends from high school and college are just like, "Please stop telling me about this new campaign and offer and things." They don't know anything of what you're talking about because they work in a corporate environment. And when we look at the landscape, we realize that not only that, but the demographic of our Flourish community are a lot of entrepreneurs that are in a sandwich generation. I
Yeah.
myself am in a sandwich generation where I have toddlers, but I also take care of my mother
Yeah.
who has dementia. And so being able to give that woman a space to
Mm.
feel supported, but also to have some kind of direction. Because I can
Yes.
remember being, I can remember having the two toddlers and looking at the business and saying to myself, gosh, I wish somebody would just tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I really wish somebody would just tell me what to do. And while I can't tell you what's going to be perfect, I can tell you statistically what has worked for other
Yes.
people who look like you. Because there are programs that exist out there. I think that they pander to women of color, that they don't take into account the historical and cultural challenges that do exist, the mindset shifts that are required to be able to show up with that confidence, even though societally it doesn't make any sense to
Any
have
sense? Yeah.
confidence at all.
Yeah.
Feels like you should crawl into a ball and disappear. And so being able to cultivate a community like that was really important. And creating Behind the Leaf was just really practical because we are a holistic marketing agency and there's lots of opportunities to make big impact. And the kind of impact we want to make makes sense for a nonprofit. And so there's certain
Hmm.
things that we want to always be free, to always be available to the public, that we don't feel comfortable or within integrity to ask for people to pay for. And so that's why
Understood.
we created the nonprofit. And it even helps us with our taxes too, to have a nonprofit as well. So it's very practical, the reason why we have it.
Amazing. Strategy with a heart. That's what it sounds like to me, you know?
Yeah.
And you said so many amazing things about how motherhood and entrepreneurship at the same time are two of the most rewarding things, yet simultaneously can be so isolating.
Correct.
And community, whether for those that are listening, community is so important where you don't have to navigate this space alone, whether it's a local mom group or it is a membership that not only caters to where you are in your life, but also gives you the tools to create legacy, impact, and wealth at the same time.
Yeah.
Why not? And answering a very significant call, which is finding resources, monetary resources for women,
Right.
especially women of color, because there's so much news about how percent of women of color actually are able to get venture capital and access to
Correct.
capital. So the fact that you have the Flourish Media Conference, which basically it's access to capital on a platter.
Yeah, it's like open open your wallet and just come and
Like
grab what you need.
it's right there. Like you
Yeah.
literally have angel investors and banks and entrepreneurs in the same room. And these investors, tell me more about how that fully works and if someone wants to get plugged in or a listener is an entrepreneur that has been feeling lost and wanting to find a space where she can get more information about what it means to get ready to pitch and get ready to be ready for investors. Tell me more about how that
Sure,
works.
sure. So when it comes to being plugged into the community in the Flourish Media Conference, it really is a matchmaking weekend. So we invite angel investors who we nurture the relationship practically the entire year, letting them know the type of women who are in our community, what their businesses are, what they're looking for, how they're scaling. And what we found is that being in the membership has only helped us to be more effective in the type of investors that we bring in. Because,
Mm.
of course, we started in the beginning with individuals who were able and willing. That was like the core of everything. They were able to make investments into others, meaning they are an accredited investor, which means that they have a household income of over $1 million, or they themselves are making $250,000 per year, so they have the liquid cash to invest in somebody else's business. That was the first thing. Then the other thing was, are you willing? I know you're able, but are you willing? If somebody came to you with a reasonable business, how much would you give them? And that we ask them, how much would you cut a check for? We know, Tracy and I, when they show up to the Flourish Media Conference, how much money they are willing to invest. And so starting there, what we learned is that those kind of investors start looking for very specific things. And so we use the conference in our membership in our community as an opportunity to teach women business owners exactly what angel investors are looking for. Things like making sure that your business is registered, that you have a business bank account. If they were going to cut a check for you today, it can't go to your personal bank account. It has to go
No.
to the business.
Yes.
Making sure
That's
that
important.
Yeah, if you want to scale a business, have you taken the time to trademark your logo, for example? Or if you haven't, then that means I'm giving you money for a business that's not really yours. And so that
Mm,
matters. Things like over the years we figured out from our pool of angel investors and bankers and things that things like having a single business owner is very scary for them. Why? Because we all went through the pandemic together. We had this situation happen where there was a woman who was developing a medical tech product, and it was going really well. She was pitching it, raising money, getting into different opportunities, and then she herself got COVID. And unfortunately, she and her daughter were the ones building the business, and she passed away. So angel investors, when they say I don't want to invest in a solopreneur, it's important that within the Flourish Media environment and the Flourish membership, that we are actively telling you this is why they care about that specific thing.
right.
It's not for no reason. And so being able to grow that and nurture that happened because of the pandemic. So we had been hosting the Flourish Media Conference for 5 years. We had a pool of about 300 women business owners and a nice handful of investors, or double handful, about 50 of them, that were interested in, and they were willing and able to invest into women-owned businesses. Now, during the pandemic, we commune in a Facebook group, and it was a free Facebook group. We opened that Facebook group, and when we did, that group ballooned from the 300 members who come to our conference, 1,300 women business owners who are interested in this topic and connecting with funders. And so what we had to do is to be more strategic and intentional about the type of partnerships that we look for. And
Right.
Tracy and I went above and beyond to find, okay, well, where do we find new investors, new people, new communities, new networks? Done that work, and it's been really beautiful bringing in those faces. I can say through our community now, we've had a community member go on Shark Tank and be able to close a deal with Kevin O'Leary.
Oh my
We have
gosh.
community members who, if you go to Ulta right now, if you go to Sephora, you can go buy their products. We have a community member who sold her entire tech business to Mattel. Yes, Mattel, Barbie, she sold it for $5 million.
Amazing.
The work has been really beautiful, and so we want to do more of that. We want to get to a place where when someone is interested in being an angel investor, that they will automatically think, well, I have to go to the Flourish Media Conference because they have quality women owned businesses that are ready to take my money. That's what I want.
I love that. I love that so much. Just laying the foundation, getting people investment ready. It just speaks volumes to who you are, not only as a founder, but just, your heart for women and what we're doing, because in community we can go further together. And that's something you say in your own amazing way. Can you tell us again what you say?
Yeah, so I say if you want to go fast, you go by yourself, but if you want to go far, you need a team. And when it comes to that's something that my dad has always said. I learned that it's like an African proverb, would make perfect sense because he's Nigerian. But I would like, for me, it's like my dad's thing that my dad says. But growth happens in collaboration. We really
That
do
part.
need each other. Being able to collaborate means shedding the mindset of being a lone wolf. It means shedding the mindset of scarcity. It
Ooh.
means shedding the mindset of fear, because sometimes some of us have grown up in an environment when we try to grow, or we might have an idea that we're so used to and accustomed to people ripping that idea apart or taking advantage, or someone taking credit for your work has
Mm.
become so normal. And it's a type of abuse, honestly, that we've become so familiar with that uncomfortable feeling that we think that that's normal. And that in of itself is something to overcome within the Flourish membership as well, because I can see that there's a time of shedding where people have to get comfortable saying, hey, I do have a business and I do want to make a bunch of money. And they're so used to somebody saying, well, you can't do that. It can be a bit of a culture shock to be in our closed environment. People say, yeah, you can do that, girl. This is how you can do it, and this is who you need to meet, and this is the person who's going to help you, and they're going to check in with you. So it takes a little while to get used to all that kindness.
Can you imagine being in a world where we have to get used to kindness, where kindness just isn't what we are and who we are? But that's another subject that we can go on. But you are making a difference in the community that you're building of these amazing women and empowering them to do the things that maybe society has taught them or culturally has taught them that they can't do or couldn't do. It is possible. And that becomes more evident with all the amazing founders that are going through the membership and that are having so much success. So I love that. Vivian, before we go on to the next portion, I just have this one thing, and you've definitely poured in so much to our listeners, but so how can we really rewrite the narrative about motherhood slowing down ambition?
I know that motherhood doesn't slow down ambition. It requires you to show up differently. So that is one of the things I would definitely say, listeners, surrender to showing up differently. Just the way that you are a different person when you went through puberty, from childhood, from being a baby yourself to being a toddler to being a teenager. Just really embrace this new season that you're in, because of what you resist persists. Okay? And so surrender into being this new version of yourself, and know that you can come up with ways to manage it.
I love that. I love that. Because definitely motherhood can be a test of your identity. And sometimes in that shifting of identity, you feel lost in the shuffle. So our conversations, definitely the goal is just to allow women to have a space to feel safe and to be empowered to understand that you're shifting and you're evolving actually to be the woman that you were always intended to be. Like you said, going through those different life stages. We were a baby, then we were a toddler, then we were a teenager, then we're here as women, growing and thriving and trying to build something new and break generational things that held us back. So these conversations mean so much. And speaking of stages of life, we've actually come to a part of the show that I love. It's a little fun, and it's basically our little millennial nostalgia break. I am very partial to being a part of the millennial generation because it's definitely made us who we are, and I think we're pretty fun as moms because of everything that we went through in the early 2000s. So what is your favorite millennial memory, whether it's related to fashion, concerts, boy bands? Tell me something that you remember during the early 2000s.
So something I really enjoyed during the early 2000s is the fact that we kind of all knew about the same things, and that's that we were all watching like TRL or 106 in Park. And so your talk at school was like, did you see that? And it's the fact that everybody saw it, and it was just like a cultural impact. I love that because it helped to find kind of a touch point to understand like who you're talking to. If they like TRL versus if they like 106 in Park. You can make a little judgment, give you some insight on that person and their beliefs and kind of what they like. And so I miss that kind of simpler time of that now. Yeah.
It definitely was simpler times. And what I also love about us is that we kind of were a little bit of TRL and we kind of were a little bit of 106 in Park.
Yes, everybody was. It wasn't,
it wasn't like, we just
vibes.
listened here. No, we were super, super cultured in our own way. We were like ahead of our times, definitely embracing all aspects of music and culture, which is what I love. And I know that is why we are who we are. At least a little part of that, being a part of being millennials, on top of all the crazy fashion and wearing basically business casual to the club, and we can talk about it. Because you said you were outside. Okay, you said you were outside. We were outside in business, corporate casual, and it was hilarious. But a time was had. We are coming to another portion of the show, which is also my favorite because it's a time of reflection and is a time to give ourselves flowers. And I want you to tell yourself when you were a first time, something that would make her proud about where she is now.
So if I was to talk to myself as a first-time mom, I would say that the thing that everybody told me, it's going to get better. Really enjoy those early days and embrace every part of this journey because all of it is wonderful. It's a lot of work in the beginning, but it does get easier.
Yeah. I would agree. It gets easier, and of course, in every stage of our children's lives, because now we have school-age children that are in big school, is what I call it. And Every stage of life, every stage of mothering has its own challenges. But what I realize in general is that it's a beautiful journey, especially if you allow yourself to really lead with grace and compassion for yourself. Because as high achieving women that are ambitious, perfectionism happens to be one of the people that we keep along with us. And I realize that we can't really approach motherhood with the same mindset all the time.
No, you can't.
Things
You
happen
can't.
from day to day, children shift and change, we evolve, and it's just time for us to enjoy the journey. So, Vivian, we are finally here at the closing, and I just want to thank you. Thank you so much for your wisdom. Thank you so. It's to the point where you need to send all of us an invoice because you literally clarified and just gave us so much that we'll have to take notes, re-listen, and really digest everything that you said when it comes to what it means to build impactful legacy, you know? So where can people stay connected with you and hear more about all the tidbits? Because on social media, you're sharing in your stories tidbits and tips about the stock market and your daily life while you're making eggs and being a mom and doing all the things. Where can our listeners connect with you?
So for me, I'm at Vivian Olo on all the things, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, all the things. I do have a website, vivianolodun.com. And if you want to stay in touch with my business, Flourish Media, we are Flourish Media Co. on all the things where you can stay connected with our membership, our nonprofit work, and being able to learn about AI and connecting with those investors. At Flourish Media Co. on all the things, and at Vivian Olo if you care to see what I'm doing day to day.
The day-to-day stuff is amazing. I have actually been impacted by Vivian myself. Personally, her leadership, her mentorship, her heart, her tenacity, her audacity. I've been able to witness that myself. So please, if you're out there listening, stay connected to Vivian. You are going to flourish as you follow her.
That's
Thank
what we
you.
like to hear.
Indeed, indeed. This was such an impactful conversation about what it means to be an ambitious woman juggling building an empire, motherhood, and building community and staying in community. As always, thank you for tuning into Musings of a Geriatric Mama. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this episode with another mom or mother figure that needs a little bit of encouragement. And join me next time for another inspiring conversation. Take care.